it becomes when we say that the noise is white noise. Now, not necessarily noise you can take, always you can say. Of course, most of the calculations it has been taken, but if you have another noise, maybe the receiver design will be, you can say, corresponding to another one. But match filter has stood, you can say, its relevance. And so this is widely used, in fact, match filter, because this is an optimized or optimum filter which gives the best output under the, you can say, whatever operating conditions. And operating conditions, because of the noise, because of the losses, because of your pulse, modulations or other transmission problems, it still gives the best, one of the best, you can say, response. So this match filter is still, you can say, widely used in all, you can say. The another receiver that I'll discuss in spread spectrum also, that's what is called correlative receiver. In case of correlative receivers, you can recover back again. I mean, we can prove the equivalence also of the correlative receiver and the match filter also. But that's also widely used, correlative receiver. And correlative receiver, as we will discuss, I mean, when we discuss more about, you can say, spread spectrum, because this is mostly used for, you can say, in a spread spectrum applications. And which are the, you can say, now building blocks for our all future generation communications also, you can say, like 3G, 4G, and of course in 5G, OFDM or other technologies or non-orthogonal technologies are, you can say, finding their uh, applications also. So maybe as technology is, changing, a lot of other things are, you can say, evolution of technology. I mean, that shapes the, you can say, depending upon the application, depending upon the requirement. So these technologies are constantly, I think you understand that. uh, any question any student wants to ask? I mean, what we discussed yesterday. Any question? I discussed last, match filter as an integrator. So can an integrator be called a match filter? If you look at carefully, this also, because match filter is what? A match filter is something, some, you can say, device which maximizes my output. My output means signal to noise ratio. Similarly, the integrator also, you can say, optimizes the response, you can say, at a particular instant we sample when the, charge gets, you can say, gets its maximum peak value. And so this can be also, proved to be as, you can say, a match filter, having, you can say, match filter characteristic corresponding. So that's what the last, I think, we discussed. And this one, you can say, I was just discussing about optimum filter using correlator. You know, if you use a correlator, as I said, of course, the concept is a little bit maybe, but I'll explain it. So correlation, all of you understand, like, we already discussed in your line codes, autocorrelation, then the cross correlation, or different kind of other, correlations you must be studying, I think, signal processing also. So what this correlator, you can say, receiver is all about. So you can say, again, we have the, I mean, two inputs, S1 and S2. And what we do essentially is we multiply by the local signal. Local signal S1t minus S2t, we multiply to a multiplier and then through a integrator. So this is, I mean, this local signal is essentially, you can say, my correlator. I mean, correlated signal, you can call it. Uh, Correlation means, I mean, when I multiply this particular local signal with my given input, depending upon the input, this will generate some output. And this output will be S01 plus N0t. Uh, Again, S0t plus N0t, depending upon whether it's S1 input or S2 input. Now, look, if you look at S0t, I think we have already studied about it, that what will be the corresponding output, let's say, corresponding to SIT. Okay, SIT means whether it can be S1 or S2. So if it is S1, S1 will correlate. If it is S2, S2 will correlate, and that will produce, you can say, corresponding to S01 output or S02 output. Similarly, the noise also, noise will also getting correlated with the S1t minus S2t signal as a reference, you can say. Now, I'll explain it. This correlation, all correlation means, I think, if you have little bit of at least background about, orthogonal codes, orthogonality. What is meaning of orthogonality? Essentially, it's, two signals are orthogonal, that we have already studied. When I mean, you can say they produce, you can say, across some time interval, you can say they are zero, produce out zero output. So they may be, I mean, any signal waveform or signals, you can say, corresponding. So they will be called, you can say, orthogonal. And orthogonality gives us, the, you can say, corresponding to orthogonality leads rather to our vector space representation, or you can say this constellation diagrams. All these are based upon this orthogonal property. So like in orthogonal codes, if a code is, autocorrelated, you can call it, of course, if a code is, you can say, autocorrelated with itself, then obviously that should be the maximum output. Autocorrelation, and if there are, let's say, other 10 codes, and this particular code is correlated with them, then because of the orthogonality, they will be producing zero output, ideally. So, I mean, you can say a signal which is correlated with itself will only produce a finite output. All other signals should theoretically produce, you can say, zero output. But of course, that's not the, I mean, there. And this particular application, you can say this kind of, application, or you can call it, I mean, technology that was used by spread spectrum. Spread spectrum systems, I'll just, after this, in this lecture, after this finishing this particular receiver part, I'll start with, spread spectrum. And spread spectrum technology has its own, you can say, it's very important technology, and that is totally based upon this orthogonality property. That each subscriber has one auth code, and I mean, the subscriber, whenever he gets his own code, he gets the message. Otherwise, he cannot, you can say, recover any other's message. So in voice also, in data also, we'll study that more about it, but that gives you fairly, at least some introduction about this correlation meaning. So if you correlate with the, you can say, S1 input, you correlate with S2 input, this will produce depending upon my input. And if HT is the impulse response of the match filter, then V0T, that should be corresponding to, I mean, this VIT, HT minus lambda, D lambda, and VI lambda. I mean, you can produce some dummy variables you can take on there. And this HT is 2k upon eta S1 T minus T, S2 T minus 2. That we have already seen, in fact, for the correlator and for the match filter. I think this we had done yesterday. So what is V0T? V0T is what we are trying to prove, you can say, correlator equivalent to match filter. So this is 2k upon n, VIT S1 T minus T plus lambda is 2, I mean, D lambda, and along with my VI lambda, I mean, you can say V0T, I can write it in this form, minus, again, the same form, you can say, corresponding to, except, I mean, of course, the integration limits are same, S1 T minus T plus lambda minus S2, I mean, as you can say, which we are multiplying with that. Since this VI lambda is what? Si lambda plus n lambda, and V0 is S0 plus N0T. So at T is equal to T sampling, I mean, this, if you sample this particular function at a particular time, this V0, I can say S0T. And remember that this particular S0T also, because we are considering, you can say, the output at a particular instant, at a particular sampling time. So 2k upon lambda, Si lambda, S1 lambda minus S2 lambda, D lambda, corresponding to, that's a fairly simple equation where Si is equal to S1 or S2. And similarly, I can write N0 as corresponding to N lambda, getting correlated with this my match filter, you can say, corresponding with that multiplier that we are doing. This S0 and D0 as calculated for the correlation receiver, as calculated from equation, I mean, the other equation that for the match filter receiver are identical. If you look at, this S0T or this N0T, they are identical for the, if you look at the match filter output also. So, I mean, that proves, you can say, it's, at least if you want, I can see that, I can show you that also, like in the match filter output. If my output, if you look at HT, this HT is same, you get 2k upon n, S1 T minus S2 T minus T. Similarly, for the noise also, you can say N0T also, I mean, the same kind of output. Understand? So, in a way, you can prove that this correlation receiver equal to your match filter receiver. As I said, there are only two kind of receivers for recovering or detecting the, you can say, digital modulated signals, that one is patch filter, another one is correlative receivers, and both of them are equal. They can be proved to be equal. That's what calculation we had carried out. Now, if you look at the reception, S1T, I mean, if you look at BPSK, you might say that BPSK, how do we calculate the probability of error, bit error rate? So S1T, A cos omega 0 t, S2 minus A cos omega 0 t. S1T, of course, in PSK, you can say they are, I mean, 180-degree opposite. So S1T is minus S2T. And so, I mean, if you calculate corresponding to, if you substitute those values, then corresponding to equation, I mean, 11.55, if you look at the probability of error calculation, that is, this gives me 1 by 2 error function, complementary error function, ES upon eta. ES I can write as A square T upon 2 eta. And I think we calculated, we had little bit discussion about phase synchronization also. So if phase is not synchronized, this cos phi will also contribute to bit error rate. So this may be, you can say, at low frequency, at low speed signal, I mean, transmission, you can say, or low, I mean, data volume, you can say, this can be ensured. But when you are having high speed datas, you know, this phi angle, this can come out of, you can say, our receiver electronic part also. I mean, you can see the medium also, or any other processing, you can say, along with, in fact, if you look at, you know, receiver, as I said earlier on, the receiver itself may pick up the noise, and particularly receivers which are operating at high frequencies. Try to look at, you know, you can see the signal generators. I think in microwave or other course you must have already studied about how do you generate high frequencies signals. Maybe you can say corresponding to gun diodes, or you can say klystron or magnetron, or nowadays, at least, if you look at, there are different, you can say, I mean, solid state devices also which are being used for generation. But when you are generating, you can say, gigahertz of signal, their stability is a bit challenging. And stability, you can have a transceiver noise also, like, I mean, at the transmitter itself some noise is added up. So this cos square factor is very, very, you know, critical. As I said, a bit error rate is the, you can say, a benchmark or yardstick for, you can say, making this particular all technology useful. If this bit error rate cannot be maintained at a particular level, the, you can say, the whole system is probably may not be, you can say, used by the, you can say, subscribers or users. This is imperfect bit synchronization, as I given a problem about clock synchronization. So what was the, you know, bit synchronization process going on? Bit synchronization process gives me information about when the bit, you can say, time duration of the bit. So the bit has to be, because if suppose you are, let's say, recovering back 90th or 50th, you know, bit, so your clock should give you 50th bit only. If you are, you can see your clock is 50th bit and your bit is 51st, you know, then obviously there is a mismatch. Then you will reach to some wrong conclusion, or some wrong result will be there. That means resulting into error. So this bit synchronization is again a very good, you know, technical, you can say, challenging problem. That how do you ensure that synchronization is always maintained, and that the bit synchronization unit that I had explained you in BPSK or other modulation schemes is this one, is, you can say, this particular, and there are imperfections, as I said. I mean, if some delays are there, then how will it will affect? If you can just look at it, you know, this particular S0T corresponding to, I mean, your A square T 1 minus 2 tau upon T, this, you can say, imperfection will be there in the bit error probability. So if bit synchronization is not proper, you can write that your S0 output will be depending upon this, you can see this tau. Okay. If the overlap is in the other direction, I mean, integration may be, you can say, minus tau to T or T to T plus tau, I mean, depending upon this particular interval. So you understand now, at least, I think bit error calculations are fairly easy, that we had done already. You can say, if you have a Gaussian noise, then how will the noise affect, and then you can say the particular voltage level, you can calculate that. So if, I mean, if this is the probability of error is increased by 10, you know, if your tau delay is 0.05, you know, that means 5 upon 100, 1 upon 20th, I mean, you can say, if delay is there, the probability of error may increase by a factor of 10. That's obviously very high. So this particular delay has to be somehow, you can say, eliminated. If both phase error and timing error are present, then the bit error probability formula will be this one. So if any numerical is there, and you can say this particular phi or this tau is given to you, you can calculate that what will be the probability of error if both phase error and this bit synchronization imperfection is there. Then how the bit error probability will be getting you can say get it modified, or will get modified as per the input. Understand? Any question? Any from any student? I got mail from also one or two student that I think, tell me, you have this book Top and Ceiling or not? I think that's probably fairly available in the library also. Some student told me that they have gone home and they probably they are not having this particular book right now. So I think, I mean, it's a digital form, that is not available on the net. At least it's not available with me also. Some of the, this particular publishers do provide their digital form, but some of them don't. So I think you will have to see. I'll try to arrange also if possible. But meanwhile, I think you can take help of your, classmates or some other colleagues or seniors if they have, they are living in your neighborhood or somewhere. And in any case, I think this particular cost of this book may not be probably 200, 250 rupees or something, I think, near about, because it's a paper, I mean, edition. So it should not be, have much of a cost also. Okay. So no question. I move forward. Yes. Coherent reception. FSK can be demodulated or through non-coherent also, and through coherent reception also. Coherent, all of you know that perfect synchronization in the clock has to be done for any coherent detection. So if you have S1 S2 signal that we have already seen, one will be cos omega 0 plus sigma and then omega 0 minus sigma corresponding. So the local waveform S1 minus S2t, that we have already done these calculations, and presuming that S1t is minus S2t, assuming is obviously not valid for FSK. Okay, this assumption is not valid, you should understand. But presuming, we start with, we'll see that also, if they are not perfect, you can see cos what happens. To start with, 2 upon that this particular P0 square T upon sigma 0 square, we had this factor we had calculated for match filter. So that factor, you can say corresponding to S1t minus S2t square, you can say corresponding to the difference of the two signals. It depends upon, so substituting, if you substitute S1 and S2t, what happens? S1t you substitute a cos omega 0 plus sigma t. So you get an expression of, you can say, I mean, of course, this a square is constant, t is constant, eta is constant. So they are taken outside. 1 minus sine 2 sigma t upon 2 sigma t plus 1 plus cos. Sine terms will there, or sine 2 omega 0 t upon t. This calculation you will have to carry out. You can do on your own also, because essentially that is, you can say, forming the squaring up. S1 is t square minus S2 is t square minus 2s1 s2. So multiply them and you can get this particular, because the combination will be what? You can convert it to, like your sine square, cos square can be converted to 1 plus cos 2 theta, or similarly sine square can be also converted to corresponding to some 2 theta form, and then you can simplify. That's why we are getting this factor of 2 or in this particular expression. If you assume that the offset angular frequency is very small, I mean the minimum, you can say, shift between the two, you can say, inputs, then I can write P0t. I mean, essentially you can say approximating it to be small. Then I can approximate this particular expression to 2a square t upon sigma 1 minus sine 2 sigma t upon 2 sigma t. All other factors can be presumed to be, you can say, relatively insignificant in comparison to this, expression or this particular parameter. So if you do that, and largest value when sigma is selected, so that 2 sigma t is 3 pi by 2, let us say. Okay, if I mean the sigma, but I am selecting the frequency difference, so that, I mean, this condition can hold on, and if that is the case, I can substitute corresponding to the sigma value 3 pi by 2, and I can simplify it. So this comes out to 2.42, 4.84 a square. If you have it, take 2 inside, because a square by 2 is your, you can say, corresponding to power component. So T upon sigma, and so P is equal to complementary error 1 by 8 V0 squared. This is equal to, I mean, if you simplify it further, this becomes complementary zero point 0.6 ES upon eta. You might say that why so much of calculation, because this calculation has to be, you can say, accurate as far as possible. Of course, still you can say it's only simplified, you can say, answer. But if you include all the factors, maybe it may become more complex. So when one of the two orthogonal frequencies are transmitted, okay, orthogonal frequency 2 sigma t is corresponding to m pi, then this particular perfection, this 1 by 2 complementary S upon 2 eta. I mean, the two orthogonal frequencies are transmitted. Comparing the probability of error of FSK equation 11.86 with the probability of error obtained in this thing, another one, we see that the equal probability of error in each system can be achieved if the signal energy in the PSK signal is 0.6 times as large as the signal energy in FSK. I mean, the two cases that we have taken, as a result, a 2 dB increase in transmitted signal power is required for FSK. Why is FSK inferior to PSK? Okay. Why is FSK inferior to PSK? Any answer? It's inferior because it consumes more bandwidth. Okay. The answer is that in PSK, they are perfect S1T minus S2T, while in FSK, this condition is not satisfied. Thus, although an optimum filter used in each case, PSK results in considerable improvement compared with FSK, because they are not, you can say, perfect. Now, this is about, you can say, BFSK. So if you get a numerical in BFSK, binary frequency shift keying, you can solve it in this manner. If what happens in QPSK? In QPSK, we have an input, we have a white noise, you can say, added in the channel. We multiply with the carrier, synchronous, you can say, detection. Okay. And again, that integrate we, and then we sample them. So the output will be what? You can say corresponding to S1T, S2T, S3, S4. Understand? I mean, either it can be 1, 1, it can be 1, 0, it can be 0, 1, or it can be 0, 0. I mean, these are the four combinations, you can say, corresponding to V01 and V02 you will have. So 4 signals will be there. So if you look at this figure, the reference waveform of correlator 1 is at an angle phi is equal to 45 degree to the axis of orientation of all the 4 possible signals. Hence, from equation, this thing cos 45 degrees 1 by 2, the probability that correlator 1 or correlator 2 will make an error, I can define on. But do you understand what's the meaning of this phi is equal to 45 degree? If you look in the constellation diagram, understand that I have plotted in the lecture also. So, I mean, we had plotted those particular 4 symbols at the 4 corners of a somewhat, you can say, a square. And so if you you can say draw the diagonal with that particular corner, it is 45 degree. Okay. And the next one is also, you can say, cos of 90 degrees. So it's at 135. Next one, you can add up another 90 degrees. So you can calculate that. So that's what it is taking. If, since cos phi, this, if you take 1 by 2, then this is now, as I said in the class or lecture also, like you can see that why we have, at this particular corner, we can have at the axis itself. Why? No problem. I mean, all 4 axes also you can have. And that's what the issue sometime that when you study more about wireless modulation schemes, that these things become very, very critical there. Why this phase, so much of phase change, you can say, can harm the particular transmissions. So that's I mean, besides this particular, but now you can understand that this phi, I can presume at the beginning, my starting symbol at 45 degrees. So this cos phi can be said to be this, having this particular, and if you calculate this probability of error calculation, this becomes the complementary error a square ts upon 4 eta. Now to compare this result with the result obtained in BPSK. In BPSK, what? TS is what? 2t. Symbol duration kitna hoga? 2t hoga. Okay. So, I mean, if you substitute this TS as corresponding to 2t, this particular expression will be corresponding to a square t upon 2 eta. That's equal to probability of error as far as BPSK is concerned. Look here. I mean, BPSK and QPSK almost have the same probability of error expressions. And this PC, you can calculate 1 minus probability of error corresponding, I mean, you can say correctness, you can plot, and the correctness you can define in this manner. And again, corresponding to this, you can say twice of, I mean, this particular probability of error, you can do this calculation if this is much less than 1. So that's what, QPSK. Of course, MRAPSK, QASK, all other modulations also. uh, I'll, if maybe in one or two other lectures, I think I'll try to discuss that also. Like, the particular concept I'd like to discuss about union bound, like how do you bound, how do you demarcate the regions that is a particular signal is particularly, falling if in a particular zone, how that worst case or, uh, correct detection is possible. So that we will study. Any question now up to, you can say, QPSK? Yes, students. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Oh, good. And you are reading it or not? I mean, right now, I think you should spend some time, because it will be much easier for you to understand if you study right now and you can ask me in the next lecture. Otherwise, at the end of, if you open it up, then you may be having, a little bit of, you can say, more problems. Anyway, the other that I wanted to at least start with, or perhaps, talk about, I think that's a part of your syllabus also, like, spread spectrum. And it's very interesting, spread spectrum modulations. It's a very interesting technology also, and modern day perhaps being used in lot many applications. You can say your GPS signal is a spread spectrum signal. Your, all 3G 4G communication, wideband CDMA, all these are, you can say, spread spectrum signals. Now, obviously, the first question that comes to is what it is, sir, and why do we need this particular, because technology always come through, you can say, some requirement. And requirement in this case about spread spectrum system was because, you can say, it was secure communication, the desire to have a secure communication. Now, secure communication, where do we need most, secure communication? If your two of your friends are talking, maybe of course privacy is there, but they don't talk something which are so important, you can say, and public must be, maybe interested in listening or not. But if you compare that situation with, you can say, across the country military services, you can say, then and particularly if the two countries are not in a very good terms, then obviously they will be always eager to listen to what is happening, on the other side, what kind of command and control are being given to their army or, our side. So that was the motivation, at least at the peak of, you can say, not, but the start of the Cold War, rather. I mean, Russians and Americans, they were really very, you can say, obviously scared of each other, you can say, because they had a lot of, at least this particular weapons, or two superpowers. And that is where, you can say, this particular, the need to have a secure communication was felt. And it came around 1950, in fact. Spread spectrum technology, analog spread spectrum signals, you can say, started coming up, but digital, spread spectrum signal could not be, at least see the day of the day up to, you can say, it came only in 90s. IS-95 system, that was the first system based upon, you can say, spread spectrum. And I think the company that is coming to your campus also, many of your seniors are getting job also, Qualcomm. Qualcomm is the company who, you can say, uh, you know marketing this particular, you can say, products of this technology mostly, and who, you can say, is credited with giving, giving the credit for developing this technology. Theoretically this was there, but how this particular could see, practical, you can say, uh, you know at least utility, that was done by Qualcomm. And it's a big company. I think a lot of your seniors are already working, in fact, most of in Qualcomm companies. And its applications are mostly, you can say, secure communication, like, all your data now, data speeds, 3G 4G, this kind of, you can say, systems, they are based upon a spread spectrum. So that's a little bit of background, that why do we, we need to have a secure communication, and how. Second part is how spread spectrum signal becomes more secure. That obviously is the next logical question. What makes them more secure? Number one, secure, in a sense, you can say that nobody can tape it. Taping is a big business now, you can say, everywhere. I mean, a lot of people are interested in who is, giving what or who is saying what, particularly in financial or you can say other, defense areas. So, how do you make it more secure in terms of technology? And you can make it in terms of technology because the at least the person who is trying to, intrude into that particular communication path is not able to do that. And that's obviously a challenging task because uh, it's very competitive, at least the more security algorithms you have, the hackers, design something new. So it's very competitive in a sense because the people who are desperate to listen to, then they are also doing their best, and the person who are trying to save it also, you can say, working very hard to make it more secure. And it becomes secure because you can say the particular code, that orthogonal code that they use, its length is so high, you can say the bit length is near about, you can say, 2 to the power, 63 Walls code, if you have probably come across this particular term, block code. So around 63 to 64 bits, code length is there. So which particular code is coming to the subscriber? Let's say 2 to the power 63, combinations. Any code can come. So how much is 2 to the power 63? That combination, how much combination is? Billions of, you can say, combinations. So billions of combination will be there at least. And how a particular hacker or particular person, intruder, now he cannot, you can say, have a processor which will, give him the result for a billion, codes instantaneously. It may take years, in fact, to really analyze that particular signal and get back the signal. So that's what makes them, you can say, more secure. And it is still secure, like all GPS systems. And you can say Americans are using their, the other part of GPS. One part is accessible to most of the world. The other part they are using only for their defense purpose. So that's very secure. The American Army or the Navy or Air Force, they are using that particular, you can say, L-band, that particular defense system, mostly for their communication. You are reading or you are watching a lot of, news about that, how they know about everything, you can say, what is happening where. You can say that's all this particular, technology enables them, at least helps them. So this is spread spectrum signal. This is over and above conventional modulation, wideband. Power level are low. These are some of the advantage. Power level are very low. If you have ever, thought about it, what is the power level of a GPS signal? Students, I think this must be curious. A curious, perhaps, fact to know. What is the power level of a GPS signal that you receive, or your taxi wala, or Uber, or you can say Ola, or all that they make use of? Any answer? What is the power level? I think you must have given it a particular thought sometime, that how much this GPS signal that this. And then second part is, how on earth somebody is providing you free of cost? We don't pay anything for GPS. I think you know that. Do we pay some money for GPS? I don't think so. Yes, students? Are you listening? Some of you should reply, I think.
Yes, sir.
No, but you know, all of you, that we are not paying anything. Our Uber or Ola fellow driver, he's not paying any money to, you can say, for GPS signal. It's really must be an eye opener for most of you that somebody is giving in charity. Similarly, we don't pay anything. Of course, you can say advertisement or other, but WhatsApp or other, technologies, we are not paying anything. Instagram or something. Right now, there is no direct payment, of course, in terms of advertisement or something. They try to earn, but essentially it is free of cost. Technology is one part. Other part is economic part also, you can say, which is important. And then power level is so low, you can say, it's hardly even you can say less than somewhat maybe microwatt or maybe milliwatt. I mean, very few, you can say less than a milliwatt. That's the power level that the signal is coming up from such a height. So then you are having a very accurate, you can say, positioning. The streets are there. This is Bajaj Marg, or this is you can say corresponding to a cinema hall marg or something. How look at the change is, at least I think you as a communication engineer can connect with that. How this particular application has been so now used, in fact. Okay, but what I wanted to emphasize, what power levels are very low, and then obviously you have to recover the signal very accurately. So when the power levels are so low, recovery becomes obviously, so what kind of receiver it must be having. That's what the point I wanted to at least make you aware about. The power levels are very small, you can say, and then accuracy has to be high. And that's what you can say the technology becomes a challenging area, you can say, in a way, because there are lot more of considerations rather than only, you can say, one other part. So transparent to unfriendly receivers, okay. I mean, unfriendly, that means they can't make anything out of it. Use of same carrier, resistance to jamming. जैमिंग समझते हैं? बहुत सारे रेस्टोरेंट में तो लिखा रहता है कि भाई यहाँ पे मोबाइल सर्विसेज नहीं होती हैं, या बहुत सारे वीआईपी जहाँ पे जाते हैं वहाँ पे सारे के सारे जो लिंक होते हैं या जो कम्युनिकेशन सिग्नल्स होते हैं उनको जैम कर दिया जाता है. आई थिंक एज ए स्टूडेंट और एज ए क्यूरियस माइंड, यू मस्ट हैव कम अक्रॉस इट, जैमिंग, कि उन्होंने सब उन चीज़ों को, सारे कम्युनिकेशन लिंक्स को जैम कर दिया. एंड इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टेक्नोलॉजी अगेन. और सबसे ज़्यादा तो आपने ये जो जेलों में जो आजकल होता है कि भाई जेलों में बहुत सारे मोबाइल मिलते हैं, तो उन्होंने कहा जैमर्स लगा दो चारों तरफ. जैमर्स लगाने के बाद भी पता पड़ा कि वो एक कोने में तो जैम होता ही नहीं है, वहाँ तो उसको सिग्नल मिलता रहता है. सो अगेन आई डोंट नो, some of you maybe tomorrow an entrepreneur also who can solve this issue about our making our perhaps jail premises more secure. Right now they are not very secure in a sense, because very often you keep on reading this kind of news that, I mean, they have free access to, you can see, this mobile communication or some other facilities. Similarly, in restaurant also, like some of the countries, they have you can say made it at least mandatory that no mobile communication will operate inside their, you can say, dining halls or their particular. So if you keep on reading, I mean, some of the Japanese or some some other countries, Scandinavian, they have made it like there will be no communication. Similarly, when heads of the state, like heads of the state of countries meet, those kind of premises obviously are made, jamming, you can say, is performed, because they don't want anybody to listen to their communication outside world. So resistance to jamming is a very important property, in fact, and more so in defense. डिफेंस में तो इसका बहुत बड़ा एप्लीकेशन है कि यदि आप अपने दुश्मन के अपने उस एरिया में उनकी कम्युनिकेशन लिंक को आप जैम कर देंगे, उनकी और राडार सिस्टम को जैम करेंगे, तो फिर तो वो तो कुछ भी नहीं कर सकते, आपका कुछ नहीं बिगाड़ सकते. एंड अगेन यू कैन से इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स एंड कम्युनिकेशन इंजीनियरिंग इज प्लेज ए वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट रोल, यू कैन से देयर, in designing this kind of systems. So, and their utilities are also very now, they are in fact increasing with a lot of, you can say, the technology. Anyway, applications in cellular communication, cellular मतलब मोबाइल कम्युनिकेशन एप्लीकेशन में भी स्प्रेड स्पेक्ट्रम काम आता है, सैटेलाइट कम्युनिकेशन में भी काम आता है, जैसा मैंने कहा जीपीएस सिग्नल, ग्लोबल पोजिशनिंग सिस्टम, these mentions in any case. And likewise, I don't know how many of you know about it, like your Bluetooth, your this kind of technology, they also make use of spread spectrum. In fact, your Wi-Fi systems, if you know, your Wi-Fi, this kind of systems also make use of this spread spectrum technology. So it's a very important technology, and it's better at least you learn a little bit. Now there are two kind of you can say spread spectrum system, Of course, more than two also, but two major systems that you should perhaps know about is, one is this direct sequence spread spectrum, and another one is frequency hopped spread spectrum. Okay, so direct sequence and frequency hopped spread spectrum. Of course, time spread also. Some people are combination of frequency and time spread are also some of the applications they try to make use, but these are broadly, you can say, two systems. One is direct sequence spread spectrum, and another is frequency hopped. So FHSS, frequency hopped spread spectrum, and direct sequence spread system, DSSS. Okay, so DSS, I mean D along with 3S, direct sequence spread spectrum. Frequency hopped spread spectrum, FHSS. So in this direct sequence spread spectrum, which is perhaps more used in, you can say, many applications, spread spectrum signal, perhaps the term itself, I think you try to understand, or I have, if I have not already explained, spread. Spectrum can be spread. भाई स्पेक्ट्रम कोई रबड़ थोड़ी है जिसको अपन खींचेंगे तो वो स्प्रेड हो जाएगा. What is meaning of a spread of a spectrum? That's very important to understand before we at least know the different kind of, you can say, techniques. Spread spectrum essentially means, you know, a particular bandwidth of a particular pulse depends upon its spread. I mean, what is the time duration? So if you have your baseband signal, let us say it's a 1 millisecond, and 1 millisecond, if you multiply with another signal, and this rather than 1 millisecond, you have now a pulsage of, let's say, 0.01 millisecond pulse. Okay. Then the bandwidth for 0.01 will be, obviously, you can say 100 times more, because in any case, bandwidth is inversely proportional to 1 upon t, the time duration of the pulse. So that means, I mean, my, you can say, spread spectrum bandwidth now is 100 times of what my original baseband signal was there. Now, this is theoretical. You can say the important part to understand is how do we do it in, you know, hardware. Hardware means, I mean, what kind of technology I can have which can enable me for this kind of, you can say, systems. And that's why I said up to, you can say, when a lot of miniaturization or you can say very fast, you know, VLSI circuits started coming, then only this became feasible or perhaps possible even, this technology. And that's why this IS-95 system came only in the almost 90s. No other region. I mean, technology was available there, concept was available there, but since hardware was not, you know, available corresponding, so this technology could not see the day. And so that's what I also you should understand. So spread spectrum, now you understand that spreading the, you can say, spectrum or spreading the bandwidth of a particular, you can say, pulse by, you can say, multiplying it with a particular signal, which makes these particular chips, you know, they are called chips also, you can say, because I mean, at a particular, you can say, code or particular chip, you multiply your baseband signal. I think I'll discuss more about it when we go in detail of that. So in this, in which amplitude of an already modulated signal is amplitude modulated by a very high rate NRZ binary stream of digits. Okay, so this is again amplitude modulated. That means it is multiplied by, you can say, by a very high rate NRZ binary stream of digits. So suppose you have a, you know, your, let's say, any input, binary input, that is getting multiplied by a high rate NRZ binary stream. Thus, if original signal is ST signal, you can say simply your DT multiplied by cos omega 0t. If you have modulated signal corresponding to now a binary PSK signal, let's call it. Then the DS, direct sequence spread spectrum signal, consists of root 2 PS GT. What is GT? GT essentially is pseudo random noise. There are many terms I think you will be coming across. Perhaps, you know, if you read on, you will, or you can discuss with me in my next lecture. GT is pseudo random noise sequence, PN sequence, PN binary sequence, having the values of plus minus 1, you can say. So this is a, you can say, high rate, and it's a pseudo random noise. Pseudo what समझते हैं ना सब? What is meaning of pseudo?
Not real.
Yeah, not real, or you can say half truth. No, pseudo. I mean, it's not something you can say right or perfectly you can say correct. So pseudo means half. So noise, you understand, and this PN sequence is called pseudo noise. So it's not accurately noise, in fact, but it's a pseudo noise. Pseudo means half noise, you can call it in a sense. And how do you say that? In fact, what is the basis for saying that this particular PN sequence, this is a binary sequence, in fact, how do you call it a noise? Because the autocorrelation properties, you can say, corresponding to the signal and the, you can say, PN sequence, or I mean our noise that we are talking about, they have the same kind of, you can say, properties. So we can say, since their autocorrelation function match, so we can call him something like, our, you can say, noise. If a white noise, if you calculate autocorrelation for a white noise, particular signal, and if you calculate autocorrelation, you can say, corresponding to pseudo random noise, chip sequence, they will generate the same kind of output. So we see, since their autocorrelations are matching, so we can call them pseudo noise. Maybe they are not perfect noise, but there appears to be, like noise. Understand? So this is, again, a very, very important concept, in fact, in the whole of this particular base, you can say pseudonym. The characteristic of GT are extremely interesting and discussed in some detail. Here we may assume that GT is a binary sequence, as it is a data DT. The sequence GT is generated in a deterministic manner, okay, and is repetitive. Now you might say that this sequence is deterministic. However, the sequence length before repetition is usually extremely long, and to all intent and purposes, and without serious error, we can assume that the sequence is truly random. What is meaning of a random sequence? Can it be random? Can you recover a signal which is modulated by a random sequence? We cannot, because how will you recover the signal which is modulated by a random sequence? Because random sequence is random. So to recover a signal back, you will have to have some repetitive signal, repetitive PSM having some finite periodicity. Okay, think about it. I think I'll discuss in the next lecture. There's no correlation at all between the values of a particular bit and the value of any other bits. Furthermore, the bitrate FC of GT is usually much greater than the bitrate FB of DT. As a matter of fact, the rate of GT is usually so much greater than FB. We say that GT chops the bit of data into chips. We call the rate of GT the chip rate, okay, FC, retaining the word bit rate to represent FB. FB यदि आपकी बेस बैंड सिग्नल का यदि आप रेट मानते हैं और उसका कॉरस्पॉन्डिंग वो मानते हैं, तो नेक्स्ट FC इज योर चिप रेट. It's essentially, like you discretize a signal, you sample it, so that becomes essentially chopping. Here also you can call it some sort of chopping the data bit into chips. कहीं 1 होगा, कहीं 0 होगा, कहीं 1 होगा, कहीं 0 होगा. एक 1 को आपने 1000 उसमें बांट दिया टुकड़ों में एक तरह से, तो एक कितना हो गया, 0.001 हो गया. 0.001 का मतलब हो गया कि वो almost 1000 times you can say more bandwidth expansion, you can say, corresponding to the sequence. And that's what the meaning of a spread spectrum signal. And so, yeah, it is here. I think I can show you. This is DT is, let's say, my baseband signal, okay, my 1 and 0. This is my GT signal. GT is my chip sequence. So look at chip sequence, you will have some, you can say, high here, somewhere low. Again, it's, you can call it a 1000, whatever corresponding form binary. If you multiply both of them together, the resultant you get is essentially your almost chip sequence. Understand? And so you had a, you can say, input time, baseband duration here, let's say this duration. And what is the chip sequence? Chip sequence, duration is very small. Therefore, the resultant waveform will be, you can say, in terms of frequency, will be expanded. I think you understand. Probably we start from here in our next lecture. If you have any question, please feel free to ask me. Any question from students? Okay, so we meet on our next lecture. Fine.